Well, I definitely took a risk buying this thing. This is a 2016 CFmoto Zforce 800 trail. And it's having some major issues. So the seller stated that this was his grandparents' machine. He was selling it for them. He said that they were riding it around the yard one day, went to park it, and they went back inside, came back out, tried to start it, and it wouldn't do anything. So right now you turn the key, it lights up, but it won't click, it won't try to start, it won't do anything. And so he went over there, took a look at it, couldn't figure it out, and decided it was going to be too much time to try to fix it, and that's when he listed it for sale for $3,500. I found it on Facebook, offered $25. He said, come grab it, I watch your channel, I'll give you a really good deal on it. And I asked him a few questions. I said, do you think it's the crank at all? He said, I don't think so. It ran good before it shut off, and the engine does turn over, is what he says, by hand. So that's a good sign. These are known to have the crank bearings go, so I'm hoping that's not the case. He said the only problem I had was last year the head was replaced and the cam chain was replaced. He said that the head broke by the cam where the casting was. But he said that was fixed, and it ran good after that, and never had another issue until no start issue. So that's kind of where this thing sits. It's pretty darn clean for the year. It's a 2016, so it looks like it was really well kept. Tires are in good shape. It does have the ugly wheels on it that were painted purple. We'll have to fix that. But good tread in all the tires. Plastics aren't all beat up. For $2,500, I think we did pretty decent. It has a windshield on there. Has a winch. The winch does work, he said. A couple different lights. Looks like there was a plow on here at one point. You have the plow mount. But yeah, I thought it was pretty darn clean. And if it's just an electrical issue, which is what he thought it was, we get a smoking good deal on this thing. As you can see, I don't see any oil leaking, no gas leaking. Thing is tight. So hopefully we get lucky with this one today. But we are going to start digging into it, and we'll see what we find. I'm hoping for the best, but these CFmotos, you never know. Could be bad. Alright, before we get this thing off the trailer, let's just take a peek inside and see what it's doing. The seller also said there's like a 2-inch lift on here. Kind of funny. Doors open nicely. Look at these seats. Aces Racing. Those look like comfy seats. Alright, let's take a peek in here. Alright, so we've got the hazard lights, horn, brights, a light for the back, I think. The Sasquatch lights that they installed, I think. In and out for the winch. And then you're on and off for the machine here. Might be for the winch, maybe? I don't know. And then you've got your 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive button here. Windshield is pretty nice. Comes up like that. What else does it have in here? No radio. Let's see what's in the glove box. Looks like the original toolkit in there. These must have been lights for it at one point. Bunch of fuses. Alright, got the key. Alright, dash lights up. There's only 3,073 miles on it. Gas tank is half full. Got your temp gauge. Looks like there's an engine light coming up here. So that thing's flashing right there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nope, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wow, there's a bunch of different codes coming up. It's all different. That's not good. But you try to start this thing, it's not doing anything at all. So nothing at all happening. It's not clicking. I don't hear the solenoid coming on. Nothing at all. So we're gonna start with the basics. Check out the battery, make sure all the grounds are good. Kind of go from there. So that's what it's doing. I really couldn't check much when I was there because nothing turns over, nothing happens. You know, so we'll dig into it, see what's going on. Well, she made it in the garage. These things are pretty small, so it doesn't take up a lot of room. But we can start working on it now. So let's go ahead and start digging into it. So I think the first thing we're gonna do is look up these codes on the dash, write all those down, and then we'll look those up and see what they say. There's a lot of them. It was blinking like crazy. All right, so turning on the key. You can see the key does nothing. Doesn't click, doesn't do anything. But to find the engine code, you are going to count the flashes here. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pauses. 1, 2, 3. Pauses. 1, 2, 3. Pauses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pause. So that's one code. And it starts over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pause. 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, coming over here, we did a bunch of these off camera, but we did the first two on camera here. So the first one was 10337, which equates to P0337. The 10 is a 0. They just put the P in front of the code for some reason. So 10337 is P0337. 10336, which we saw, was P0336. 10174, P0174. And then 10.5, 10.10, P0500. And this one, the P0337, is going to be the CKP sensor, no signal, which is the crank position sensor, no signal. So we're not getting signal to that sensor. The P0336 is crank position sensor noisy. So it's a noisy signal at the sensor. So if something's going on with that sensor, either it's slightly disconnected, or there's a bad ground, or a mouse chewed through the wiring, something's going on with that, or the sensor itself is bad. P0174 is bank 2 lean, which means cylinder number 2, there's a lean condition, which means that it's either getting too much air, not enough fuel, or maybe these signals signaled that one to go off for some reason. And then the last one is P0500, which is the vehicle speed sensor, no signal. So we're not getting signal at that sensor either. So this does sound like a wiring issue. We won't know until we start digging into it. Alright, so looking in here, this box is for the winch. So that's all for the winch. There's the CDI there. We've got coolant here, may as well check that. It's topped off. That looks good. Let's see what this looks like in here. Coolant is filled up all the way there. That's not a great sign. that could mean overheating problems. So that's not good. That's all the way filled up, way to the upper end. Not a great sign. The first thing we're gonna do is check the plugs going into the ECU. Sometimes those wires can pull out and they're not making contact and can trigger a bunch of different things. So let's go ahead and disconnect all these and then we can just kind of check them over. Doesn't hurt to check before we move on. So you wanna see, make sure those connectors aren't pushed out, making sure they're making good contact in there. Yeah, that one looks good. Move on to the second one here. I'll kind of go through each one here. A little sandy. Yeah, those connectors look good. Looking in there, those look good. All right, and then way back there, you guys can see. All right, let's see. Connectors there look good, not pulled out. And then making sure those prongs in there aren't bent or anything. Yeah, everything looks good in there. All right, last one. All those connectors are good. Nothing pulled out. Making sure all those little tabs are good. Yep, so we can connect all those back together. It looks like all the connectors appear to be good. All right, on these aftermarket seats, there's a little strap in the back of it you pull up on. I'll show you guys, in case you guys have the same seat. Just a little thing you pull up on there, and then the whole seat can come out. All right, that gives us a lot more room. Looking down in here, it looks like the plastic got melted at one point. Got really hot. Looks like all the bolts are out of here. So somebody was definitely working on it. Here's a piece, it looks like broken off. That must be from the old head, I'm guessing. So hopefully somebody was working on it when they switched over that head and it wasn't recent. Unless somebody looked into it before. Little vents here. Looks pretty darn sandy. Looks like sand got in everything here, so. Oh boy. Not great. All right, let's take a look at the fuses, see if those are good. All right, you guys can kind of see them right here. So the fuses are right here. Let's go ahead and inspect those. So the first one, we're just gonna take those out and look at them. All right, first fuse looks good. That is for the ECU. Nothing wrong with that. I might just go with my multimeter and just check them all. All right, if we hear a beep, we know we're good. Check the first one. Good. 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 Last one. Good. So every fuse is good. So unfortunately, fuses are not the issue. Those all check out. All right, the battery box is on the left side of the machine, right in front of the back tire. So let's go ahead and get that off. I think it's two 10mm bolts holding that on. Alright, got access to the battery now. There it is. It's got a lot hooked up to that thing. Let's see what the voltage reads. So we get 12.7 volts, plenty. Yep, 12.7. Huh. This battery checks out as well. Right there's the solenoid. I wonder if we cross that, if we can get this thing to turn over at least. Because that would be bypassing all those switches in there. Alright. Yeah, let's just see. I wonder if we can take those wires off too. Looks pretty corroded in there. Well, we can definitely see if we're getting 12 volts to that. I remember on my last one I was having problems with the solenoid getting power to it. So let's just see if we're getting 12 volts to one side, and then we'll kind of go from there. Yep. Let's see if we're getting 12 volts to the start wire, or the trigger wire, I should say. Nothing there. Let's see what we're getting. There's ground. All right, now we've got it hooked up to the other side of the solenoid. So the side going to the starter. So if we're getting 12 volts there, that means the starter is probably locked up. So let's just see if we're getting anything when we turn the key. Probably not. Yeah, we're not getting anything. We're getting absolutely zero. So nothing coming from anything here. Let's see this trigger. All right, we're on the other peg. Let's see what we get. Nothing. Nothing signaling that at all. All right, so we're getting 12.7 volts to the battery. We've got power going to one side of the solenoid, but we're not getting power to the other side of the solenoid when we hit the start button. So I'm thinking there's something going on with either the starter switch, the ignition here, because you don't hear anything. It's not clicking, it's not doing anything. So either it's not getting power when you do that to the right wire, or there's something going on with the ignition. So underneath here, you can see is a panel. Looks like two 10mm bolts there, and it looks like it gets pushed into the front of the machine. So let's try to take off this panel and see if the wires are corroded underneath there. Maybe there's a wire unplugged. 1, 2. All right, let's see what's going on. Ooh, is there a mouse living in there? Ooh, it looks like a little nest in there. Oh, this one's disconnected completely. Huh. What's that one for? A bunch of them are disconnected. I wonder if that's where you put the code reader into. It looks pretty gross in there though. Hopefully something's going on in there. So I'll just pull out all the way. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff disconnected. This one, ooh, I don't know if that's a mouse nest or if it's just leaves. Yeah, I can't tell. This wire is cut right there. Huh. What was that going to? And that one too. All three of these. Well, it definitely looks like somebody was in here checking things over. If you look up there, you can see the little boot was already taken off the ignition. They were checking the wiring. So I wonder if they got to this point and then kind of gave up, is my guess. But we're gonna check the voltage there. Make sure we're getting power out of that switch. We took the ignition switch off here, and as you can see, there's a red wire, a thicker red wire, a red and gray wire. That's the trigger wire. When you turn the key, that triggers the solenoid. You've got the yellow wire there, and then the black wire here. So let's go ahead and see what we get for voltage. Hooked up to each one. Right now we're on a ground wire. So let's just see what we get. Yep. So we're seeing, that's not getting a good reading here. 11.68. And we should see it on the black because we have the switch on. Yep. 11.68. And then we should see it on the yellow wire as well. So coming into the yellow wire, let's see. Let's see if we get anything at the yellow wire. Yep. Now, let's see if the key is actually triggering the black and gray. So the black and gray, we should see 12 at the black and gray when turning the switch here. So right now you see 0. I'm gonna turn the switch if I can. You guys can see that. Turn it. There we go. We're at 0. Turn the key, we're at 11. So the key is working, the ignition switch is working. We're just not getting power down to the solenoid. So we are going to follow the gray and red wire down and see where that leads, because we're getting power from the key switch. Are we getting it all the way down to the solenoid? Alright, so I followed the wire up here from the start switch, the ignition switch, and it kind of goes into this plug in here. We tested that, we're getting power there, and then it goes into the harness and kind of disappears. Well, I think we may have found the issue here. So coming down to this little relay switch, you can see the gray and red wire there. That's the same one from the start switch there. So that actually goes to that relay. And then it comes out as the yellow and red, which is the wire going back to the solenoid right up there. So that wire is getting power from the gray and red through the switch here. So what we can do is test power going in. We turn the key and see if power is coming out. It might be that switch. Let's try it. See if we're getting power to the gray and red as we do the key. Let's see, we've got 0 volts now. Turn the key. Oh, that just worked. What the heck? That's working. What the heck happened there? I've got I just had that prong in there. Let's see if it's working now. Huh. So what I did was take off that relay, plug it back in, and now it's working. What the heck? So it must have been a corroded wire at the relay switch. Now it's actually turning over. That's crazy. Alright, so that fixed their problem. That is really crazy. Doesn't want to fire though. Probably still have codes popping up here. Well, at least we got it to turn over. That is a big start. So, yeah, it was that relay the whole time. Must have just been filled with sand and not making a good connection. So, well, it turns over. Let's put everything back together and then we can start working on getting this thing to fire up. All right, everything is back together. We finally got this thing to crank over. Let's see if any codes are popping up now. Fuel pump comes on, everything sounds good. So this will flash if a code pops up. All right, doesn't look like any codes are popping up. See if she turns over again. Ooh. Ooh, that doesn't sound good. What the heck is going on back there? Almost sounds like the one-way bearing's going. Just gonna take off this whole back plate here. Make things easier on us. So. Well, someone definitely had this apart multiple times. So that was in there. Hey, that's pretty nice. Snap-on wrench. Just found that laying in the bottom. The little tab right here is broken off. Let's see what size was on there. 12 millimeter. I wonder what he was taking off with that. Alright, oil is going to be right down in there. Let's see if we can get to it. A little tricky. Come on. Alright. Coming out of here. Oh, there's oil in it. Alright, well, see what that oil level's at. Everything's kind of been cobbled with here. Alright, so there's definitely oil in it. Comes almost to the middle part of the dipstick. And it didn't look white, so hopefully the head gasket's fine and hopefully the water pump seals are fine. Let's go ahead and take out the spark plugs and see if this thing turns easier. Got one there, and then one down here. Let's see, where is it? Right in here. Take that one out. There's the first plug. Plug is wet, it's getting fuel. Doesn't look too bad. NGK DCPR8E. So first plug looks good, and you can see how wet that plug is. So it looks like the injectors are probably spraying. And it looks like this might be the newer head here. So that was the head that was replaced at one point. Reach down in here and do it. Can't get the plug up. Oh yeah, second plug doesn't look too bad either. Looks like it was running good at one point. A little carbon on there. but plugs are pretty wet. It almost seems that we might not be getting spark. Let's try to crank it, see what happens here. Ooh. Doesn't sound good. Alright, so it almost sounds like the one-way bearing's going. I don't think it's rotating over the engine at all when you hit the starter. So either the engine is like locked up and we're having issues with that, or the one-way bearing's just like spinning in there and not triggering it. Or it could be something with the starter as well. Maybe the teeth are ground down. I don't know, something's weird, but listen to this. See, doesn't it almost sound like the one-way bearing? But we're gonna try to get to the engine so we can spin it over by hand, see if it's locked up. First, let's get the air box off. If this is all full of sand, that means the top end's probably junk. Ooh. Not the greatest filter. The airbox wasn't really on there that good either. Oh boy. So I'm hoping that wasn't an issue. Coming off of here. So there's a hose there, and a clamp, hose off. Everything's just kind of loose on here. Get the clamp for the intake off. Oh, this should pull off of here, like that. And that hose was connected down there. So I think if we take this off here, we can get to that starter. It looks like that's already been taken off too. Like somebody was in here before me. Those are all loose on there. Last one off. This whole thing comes off of here. Alright. Ooh. I think she's locked up. Oh no. Oh boy. That feels pretty darn tight to me. That sucks. The guy said it spun over. Oh, that bolt was loose too. Oh, there we go. It's not locked up. Good. All right, let's see if it turns over now. Huh. Yeah, it's not spinning the engine over. Something's going on with the starter. It wants to spin the other way. I wonder if something's going on with that one-way bearing. Let's just see again. Seems like it's trying to catch. Yeah, that's not good. It's not bad at all. So it's definitely not locked up. It's not like it gets hard in one position either. So it's not like it's dropped a valve or something. It's smooth all the way through. So why don't we go ahead, I think we might try to take out that starter. See if we can get that out. Take a look at that and see if those teeth are worn out on the starter. So the starter is way back here. Let's see. Right down here. Here's a better angle of it. I think we can reach our hand back there and grab that. There it is. So the red wire has to come off, and then 2 bolts, I think, holding that on. I'm gonna try to reach into the starter area, get the wire off. Definitely not easy to get your hands back there. There we go. Alright. So the wire's off. Now we just have to get that starter out. This is kind of how I have to reach down in here. Not the most comfortable position. I'm just kind of twisting out the last bolt here. Kind of see it's on the starter. Way in there. Got one of them out. Okay. Now if you look in here, both bolts are out. You can see the starter can move a little bit now. Kind of hard to see in there. Alright, drop through. Now the question is, can we get it out of here? I don't know. I'm not seeing a very good path. That was not easy. Spinning smooth. Taking a look at the teeth. Yeah, they're looking pretty good. Not all ground down or anything. Let's put that on the bench and see if that's working properly. Alright, so we saw that the starter spins freely. Let's see what it sounds like when we hook up the jumper to it. Right, one to negative, one to positive. Let's see what happens here. Jeez. Oh, that doesn't sound good. Huh. So the starter's bad. You guys hear that? That's the sound we're hearing. So, something's going on with the starter. That's good. That's the best case scenario. Because if we just have to buy a new starter for it, that wouldn't be horrible. Alright, so we're going to take this apart. See what's going on. Let's see. Look at all that in there. Maybe it just needs a really good cleaning. All the brushes are in place here. Those don't look too bad. Washer on top of that. Ooh, it smells pretty burnt. I can take this out. It really doesn't look that bad. Magnets. It doesn't look horrible. It's really dirty in there. Yeah, it's really dirty. So what we're gonna do is take that out, clean everything up really good, put it back together and see if that helps anything. You can see the brush has got pretty worn down, but there's still life left on them. This is pretty loose in here. I wonder if that was causing issues. This was pretty loose here. That needs to be really tight, because that's what connects the two here. See that? That could have been the problem right there. This connection could have been loose, meaning that the power going from here to here would have been kind of inconsistent. Yeah, we'll clean it up, put it back together, and see what the heck happens. Start off with some WD-40 here. Get everything nice and clean. See, it's pretty gunked up. That's cleaned out. That's pretty clean. This is the dirty one. I'm looking for any cracks in the magnets, nothing, so that's good. A crack in the magnet sometimes reverses polarity. And it can happen if these magnets are loose in here too. I don't feel any magnets that are loose. Let's clean off this plate here. Now we're going to put everything back together. Hopefully it works. Alright, starters all back together. Let's see if that fixed the problem. Should sound a lot better than it did. Let's see. There we go. That's how it should sound. Alright. Let's put our starter back on. And we'll see if the engine turns over. Alright, starter's back in, all hooked up. Let's see what happens now. Turn the key, crank it. Still doing the same thing. So I hear the starter is working a lot better, but it's not grabbing anything. Not grabbing anything at all. Huh. Shoot. Alright, we're gonna have to drain the oil, which is right down there. You can see the bolt. There's the drain bolt. We're gonna have to drain the oil and the coolant from here so we can take off the side cover. I think we can take the side cover right off of here without taking out the engine, hopefully. Oh, jeez. Now we budged it. see what the oil looks like. I'm very interested to see if there's any chunks in there. Hopefully not. There we go, it's coming out. So far, so good. Doesn't look too bad coming out of there. Alright, we're gonna let that drain, inspect the oil, and then we'll take a look at the oil filter, which is right underneath that cap. All came free. Alright. Please don't be any chunks in here. These are always fun to get out. Come on. Oh man. Probably needs a new oil filter. Not seeing any chunks on it though. I'll take a peek at that later. See if there's any chunks in here. Oh yeah, that's good. Nothing. So I think our engine might be fine for the most part, at least the bottom end is. Not seeing any metallic flakes anywhere. I was kind of afraid to look in there. That would mean the whole engine would have to come out. Alright, here's the oil. Not milky at all. No chunks in there. So oil looks pretty good. And here's the filter. You can see no metallic flakes inside or on the outside of the filter at all. So hopefully that means the bottom end and top end are okay. Alright, next we have to drain the coolant. And take the hose off right here. To do it, it drains a little bit faster. You could also take the screw out right down there. Alright, let's see if we can break this hose free. See it coming out already. Alright, now we can try to get this cover off. So first thing that has to come off is this plastic piece here. And we can take off this cover and hopefully get to the rest of it. Alright, that piece came off. A little piece here, that plate. Alright, now the crank position sensors right here, we can take that off. This is just going to pull out of here. Let's see if that looks good. Doesn't look too bad. Not all chewed up or anything. Now, let's take off the water pump cover right down here. See what that impeller looks like. Alright. Oh. Yep, that was holding it on. Alright, now what we're going to do to see if the impeller was working, the water pump, we're going to turn over the engine and see if that spins. I'm going to turn it over here, and if that spins, we're in business. If it doesn't spin, we're in trouble. We're watching the impeller here. As you can see, it's spinning. Maybe up here you guys can see it. So that looks good. All right. So water pump impeller's working. That means that the water pump should be working. All right, now we're gonna go ahead, go around and get all the bolts off around the outside of here. All right, all the bolts are taken off. Let's see if the cover will come off of here. A couple taps. We might have to take off this centerpiece here. This piece should pull out of here. Finally got this centerpiece out. Probably need a new seal, possibly. Now, we should be able to get this cover off. Alright, it's coming. Oh man. Getting held up by something here. There we go. I don't want these gears falling in. Alright, let's get all the gears out. Alright, looking at the gears, none of them are stripped out in there. Those look good, they're all in place, looking good. And the gears in there are stripped out. Let's see what the one-way bearing feels like. It's only going one way. What we're gonna do is put pressure on these two here and attempt to turn this engine over. I want to see if that one-way bearing just spins. All right, I have our remote starter hooked up. We're going to just hold the bar here and we're going to just see if it turns over here. It's just spinning. See the one-way bearing? Yeah, so that's not doing anything. See? So the one-way bearing is supposed to be going that way, and the other way it's supposed to lock up that flywheel and spin it. As you can see, it goes counterclockwise and doesn't grab the flywheel. So that is a big problem. So that bearing, that one-way bearing shot. Got the puller on there, flywheel coming off. Ooh, ooh. Woodruff key sheared off. Metal pieces everywhere. Oh geez. Well, that's why. Yeah, woodruff key sheared off bad in there. Oh boy. I think our crank is bad too. Oh no. Oh no, that's not good. That might be all wrecked on there. Oh boy. That's not good. Did we even come out? There we go. Oh man. I don't know if that crank can be welded or what, but it looks like the slot where the woodruff key goes is a little sloppy in there. Oh boy. Boy, oh boy. Not good. Alright, taking a look at the flywheel. You can see there's pretty damage on this end of it. And in there, there's a lot of damage as well. So most likely we're gonna need a new flywheel. Yeah, that's all scraped up in there. That's crazy. I don't think that happened for me either. I think that was like that before. So what I'm thinking happened was, I'm guessing the guy's grandparents were driving it around and the woodruff key let loose. They went to go start it, it wouldn't crank. They tried cranking it and cranking it and cranking it. It wouldn't fire up because the woodruff key sheared and the timing was out, so it wouldn't fire. And that's kind of why the starter was the way it was. And that's kind of where they left it, I'm guessing. And then eventually you turn the key and it wouldn't do anything, is my guess. Because you can see all the damage in there. That wasn't for me because the flywheel wasn't even spinning when we were turning it over. So it was sheared before I even attempted to turn it over. So that flywheel is pretty much junk. And then what happened with the one-way bearing is metal chunks got in here and prevented that from working. So little metal flakes are in there. And you can see it works on here, but if you put enough force on it, it won't turn over and spin. So yeah, one-way bearing shot, flywheel's pretty much shot. And this piece actually looks pretty good. So that gear looks fine. That's not worn down at all. So basically the flywheel, one-way bearing, and then the crank is all walled out, which there's no way that could have happened when I was turning it over, because it's pretty bad. So let's go take a look at the crank. Probably the worst part right there. You can see it's pretty walled out on this side, on the right-hand side. You can repair these by getting, I think it's like a putty, and then basically dipping the woodruff key in a solution to where it doesn't stick to the putty. You put the putty on the shaft, and then you basically recast that little slot there. I'm sure you could probably weld it as well. I'm gonna look up a couple different videos and see what the best way to do that is. If anybody has suggestions, let me know. I really don't feel like tearing apart this whole engine to replace that crank. And really the woodruff key is just a safety measure. You know, you shouldn't have to even have the woodruff key if you torque the flywheel on properly. So really it's just there to line it up and make sure that flywheel is in the right spot. It's not to hold it in place at all. So, you know, it doesn't have to be super strong. It just needs to be lined up perfectly so that the timing is perfect for the engine. If that's all wobbly in there, that flywheel, you don't know if it's going on correctly as you put that flywheel on, and it could be off a little bit, causing the engine to run really bad. But I'm guessing the initial failure happened when the head happened, you know, when the cracked head. So I'm guessing it ran for a little bit after that, and then it started having issues. But yeah, it looks like they replaced the cam chain on this side, so they must have had that off before. Huh. So I wonder if whoever repaired it saw that damage put a Woodruff key in there thinking it'd be fine, put the flywheel back on, and it just made it worse. So they probably knew about that problem beforehand, because that looks like it's been damaged before, you know. That didn't just happen. So yeah, it's probably been like that for a while. So I think if we can get that Woodruff key slot fixed, a new flywheel for it, new one-way bearing, I think we'd be back in business here. We're gonna take a look at the valve covers here, take those off and just check out the cams and see if those valves push down. All right, let's take a peek underneath these covers. One more. All right, taking a peek in here. Cam chain feels nice and tight. Alright, we're actually at top dead center right now. You can see the line there, the line there. So we're parallel with the surface there. So our piston should be at the top, and it is. It's right at the top of the cylinder. So, timing spot on. We're gonna see if the valves push down now. If they push down all the way, that most likely means that they're not bent. Alright, all valves are pushing down, so hopefully we got lucky and none of them are bent. But yeah, everything looks good up here, nothing broken, no metal chunks. Feels like the valve clearance is fine. So that one checks out. Let's go ahead and open up the other one. This one's a little trickier to get to, it's right in here. Let's see if we can get to it. No, that does not look good. Cam chain looks weird. It's really loose. Cam chain's extremely loose. It's like kinked in some areas. If you look down in there, you can see it's actually kinked in some areas. There's a lot of slack. See that? Where it's resting on the guide. Not good. See that? You can see all the slack there. It's almost coming off the sprocket there. Oh boy. Let's see if we can move that. Look at that. And this thing timing's off if the cam chain is that loose. I wonder if the cam change is really worn out. The guy said he replaced the other one, so yeah, it's probably just really worn out. It looks like the tensioner is in there. The tensioner's in there. It looks like it's tensioned pretty far out too. We can take out the tensioner too and see if that's good. There's the tensioner. I think the tensioner was broken, possibly. It's only tensioning out to there. It has that much more to go. So maybe that spring is worn out in the tensioner. Whoa, that spring is pretty messed up in there. So it was all bent. Alright, so we had an extra spring laying around. Let's see if it's the same one. It says CFmoto on it. So that's what it should look like. Let's see, it was all messed up there. So one end goes into here. We'll slide it out part. The other end goes way down into there. I think that's another slotted out part. So now it's springing back pretty good. So let's see if that tensions the chain now. Well, it definitely tensioned it more, so I think that spring was a problem, but the chain is really stiff, so it needs to be replaced. It's really stiff. Like, doesn't want to bend. So yeah, that chain is toast. All right, let's go ahead and take a peek at the cylinders, see what those look like. Piston's right at the top of the cylinder here. Lots of carbon buildup on the piston. We're gonna have to rotate the engine over to see anything better than that. There's the piston. Lots of carbon buildup on there, you can see. The cylinder wall looks pretty good. We'll switch the view to the side angle. As you can see, no scratches on the cylinder at all. Doesn't look like. There are the valves, those are closed. So valves don't look too bad on this one. Yeah, everything looks pretty good on that cylinder. Carbon on the piston. That's a lot. Cylinder wall doesn't look too bad. Let's change our... Just kind of see the valves there. Well, so it looks like we're going to need a new flywheel, a new one-way bearing, a new woodruff key. We're going to have to fix the crank here. Try to get that fixed and make sure that woodruff key stays in place. And then a new cam chain for the rear cylinder. And then I think we can put everything back together and hopefully this thing will run. That is the goal. So I looked online for a new flywheel and I can't find one anywhere. So if anybody has any leads for one of those or a used one I could buy off you, let me know. It's for a 2016 Zforce 800. And yeah, there's like no availability for these flywheels anywhere. And then obviously the one-way bearing on the back I need as well. And then we can find a cam chain. And what else do we need? Probably an oil filter for it as well, and then probably a new air filter. So a couple different parts, but we're getting closer and closer to getting this thing to fire up. Obviously, it was way worse than I expected today. I thought it was for sure just going to be like a wiring issue. Fix the wiring issue and then have this thing fire up. That's why I was so excited when this thing turned over, because the seller was like, yeah, it ran perfect until it had that wiring issue. So I figured, you know, fix the wiring issue, fix the machine. But of course, you fix the wiring issue, something else breaks, and you have to fix that. That breaks, and you have to fix that. So it's just like a spiraling downhill event where you fix one thing, another thing breaks, and it kept on going and going and going. You open one thing, and it's a huge can of worms. And that's kind of what this thing felt like. Every time I looked at something, it was broken or just not good. So hopefully next video, once we get the cam chain, the crank fixed, the new flywheel, we can put it all back together and be done with this thing. That is the goal. I'm hoping we don't have to tear further down into the engine and take this whole engine out of here, which we may have to do. We'll see next video when we turn this thing over for the first time and see if it has compression, and we'll see if it has spark, all that fun stuff. So that will be next video, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed picking this one up for really cheap, 2,500 bucks. You know, diagnosing the no crank issue and then diagnosing the rest of the issues that popped up. It's definitely a risk buying these things, especially when they don't even turn over. But for 2,500 bucks, I figured, why not risk it? And we might end up with a really, really nice machine for very little money. We'll see next video. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next one. And until next time, we are out.